I'm your host Felician, and today with me is Denis Rexa. So,
Hi.
Denis, please tell the audience a bit about yourself. What do you do?
Sure. Actually, I'm working as a cloud solution architect at Maxima Consulting here in Poland, specifically focusing on cloud solutions offered by Akamai.
Awesome. So, Denis, many CTOs we talk to, they are trapped by unpredictable costs, like especially egress fees. So, when building the business case for Akamai Cloud, like what do you advise them? How do you explain the financial and performance advantages they can get?
I would actually start this answer with a bit of a context for Akamai Cloud, because Akamai didn't build their cloud from a scratch. They did an acquisition in recent years in 2022 by purchasing Linode cloud infrastructure, right? They openly admit they don't have the full capabilities of big hyperscalers as it comes to some proprietary services and solutions. However, the target audience or the solutions where they're trying to win with is bundling, for example, the compute with the egress traffic. What I mean by this, when you purchase a single VM, or it's usually or typically comes with a few terabytes of a traffic, right? This traffic volume is sum up at the end of the month. So if you have two VMs, each with a 5 terabytes of egress traffic, you end up with a 10 terabytes of a traffic free of charge, because it comes with that specific VMs, right? So usually our focus or the companies we are trying to focus on are those with a bit of a higher egress traffic, because we have seen many times before when we are doing the consultancy for other companies, once you have quite a, some media delivery or something similar, where there is quite a huge egress traffic from AWS, it can end up in thousands or higher thousands of dollars per month. This can be easily write off with moving to Akamai, because even if you go over the threshold you purchased with the specific VM, it's actually very cheap. It's roughly about $5 per terabyte. So you can do your own math how it's actually going to end up comparing to the other hyperscalers, right?
So it makes most sense for companies that are just streaming a lot of data in between, or
not necessarily. This is one of those examples where we see one of those biggest fits, right? Mm-hmm. However, Akamai is well known on the market for solutions like a CDN, security, and so on. The one specific point where Akamai is dominating the market is the edge computing, mm-hmm. right? So when it comes to the POPs, in other words, point of presence, when it comes to AWS, Azure, GCP, they have a couple of hundreds of those points. Akamai, on the other hand, we are talking roughly about 4.5 thousand of these points at the time of today, and it's still growing, right? So when you have the goal in your mind to have computation closer to the user around the world, we can actually bundle the offering for edge computing with cloud computing together, and it's going to be way more faster comparing to hyperscalers, and in addition cheaper for compute itself.
It's
right?
kind of win-win. Like you should go for it.
Yes.
But not in many cases.
Needs to be a specific case, and it's not a solution for every client, right? Because many of those clients use the proprietary services of a GCP, for example, the BigQuery, or they're using other services on AWS. Really doesn't matter at this point. But in that case, we are offering them, okay, let's talk a multi-cloud, right?
Awesome. So multi-cloud, and is leveraged by everyone almost. Like many setups are in multi, and still many companies don't leverage Akamai's network.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you architect an environment so it plays, everything plays well? So Akamai plays well with AWS, with GCP, and anything else?
Where we see the biggest advantage of Akamai, as mentioned before, it's a cost of a compute, right? Typically, we are focusing on two versions of compute. That's VMs, virtual machines, and then containerized solutions, right? Akamai has, as all of those cloud providers on the market, offered both solutions, right? And they can deliver this way more cheaper. So we are focusing mainly on the compute side of the applications, not that specific services typically offered by the big players, right? So we are not trying to tell the customers we can do everything, because the Akamai cloud currently has limitations, right? And they are aware of this. However, the compute is the part we are trying to focus. For example, when they have some calculations, when they were previously working with Lambda, AWS Lambda, right? AWS has currently Lambda Edge for small compute where you can deploy it on the edge, right? But still, when it comes to the points of presence, the network for the edge, then we can leverage the computational power on the edge and combine the compute for different, not the compute from Akamai with services from different service providers, right?
So it makes sense to just take a high-level view of everything.
Definitely
then pick and choose what.
Definitely the discovery, the process of discovery is the place where we spend a lot of time on, right? Because it needs to have firstly the financial sense or financial some reasoning behind, right? Then the feasibility needs to be quite deliverable in a shorter time. For example, what I mean by this, if you have application running in, for example, AWS Fargate or doesn't really matter at the moment, but those applications leverage the proprietary services on AWS or GCP, they're going to be quite a heavy rewriting of the application to adapt open source alternatives. This is something we go with a bit of distance to the solution. We actually tell the client, yes, definitely, we can do this. However, there's going to be more work in front of us in terms of the adapting the applications to the Akamai environment.
They're positioned because of the distributed edge network, and we know that they can be the fastest, and they are the fastest in many cases. So how do you advise clients to restructure their applications to actually take advantage of edge computing? Should they restructure, or don't they have to change anything?
Maybe there are going to be the answer which not satisfy you at the moment, but it very depends, right? The application typically we advise to put on an edge is something where the application doesn't need to go to the cloud, some centralized place to check something, right? It can actually work purely on the edge, right? So some simple calculations, we can actually extend the edge computation with key value store, right? So it's something very simple for like a mapping table or something similar. We can place it to the edge. There is no need to go back to main region to check something, right? This is the place where we can leverage and speed up the application responses, right?
Okay, so makes sense. And the number one reason companies delay cloud migrations is the fear of just breaking what's already working.
Yes, yes. I mean, it's not going to be surprisingly something new. When I tell you the POC is the place we propose to start with, right? So we need to, we want to give a confidence to the client that the application is going to work the same as on AWS, right? And there are a couple of variations how we can achieve this, right? So if there is a need to rewrite the applications a bit to adapt for open source alternatives, yes, this is the part of the POC process. However, there is a need, for example, for scaling, right? We have one of those, quite a big client of ours recently quite wondering, are you able to scale enough or quickly enough is in AWS, because we need to scale from 200 cores to a couple of thousands in a matter of dozens of minutes. Are you able to do that, right?
Okay.
They have concern, and we are doing currently a POC to prove that we are able to deliver this. Once it's scaled up, we can actually do some, for example, mirroring of a traffic with some dummy data, or with a data, with not sensitive data of a client, right? So to prove them the request, which comes now currently in production with some sensitive data removed, they're able to process them in the pace as on the hyperscalers, right? So POC is the key element to provide the confidence of a client, right? Even if we have later down the road, we are able to provide more productionized version of the application, we can do like a canary release, right? Mm-hmm. So we take, let's say, a few percentage of a traffic, we redirect to the new version of application on Akamai, and you'll see if it performs that good as planned and proved on a POC, right? It's typically it's not a switch on, switch off, right? But it's a process. Yes.
Yeah. Gradual process, like everything.
Yes.
So the primary reason for the move is the fear of lock-in.
Yes.
Correct. Yeah. So I've heard, like I've seen that everyone mentions vendor lock-in as the primary fear of companies, but when you go into Reddit, people actually say that the lock-in is not such a big of a fear as media and news tell that it is. So what's your take on that? What do you see?
I can definitely comment on the services such as AWS SNS or SQS, right? I mean, once you are quite heavily locked in for a vendor, when they increase their prices because of several reasons, it really doesn't matter at the moment, but if they increase the prices, you don't have many options what to do with this other than pay more, right? Because your applications is written to adapt, for example, AWS, SNS, SQS, or any proprietary services out there. I don't want to say it doesn't make sense to use those services, right? But more and more we see a trend that the companies want to have a choice, right? For example, if you build the application with an open source version, for example, Kafka, right? You can actually deploy those applications in every cloud out there, even if a hyperscaler or something smaller as Akamai cloud, you have a choice. And it's very important for current client to have this ability to tell where to run those applications, because now in this world with a bit of a geopolitics in the back of their heads, it's we see a tendency to focusing now on data sovereignty or cloud sovereignty, where they want to have the data and compute, for example, in cloud providers in Europe, right, and not necessarily in America, right? Yeah. And once they decided to move because of those geopolitics reasons, it's going to be way more quicker to adapt and move somewhere else, because they are not locked in for provider.
Yeah, definitely. But I can imagine that those projects are pretty huge, like depending on the use case. It's on a case-by-case basis, but still you have to prepare well, and the lion's share of work has to go into the planning phase to make sure that you don't turn the business upside down in the middle.
Yes, I mean the consequences can be, as you can imagine, quite drastically, because it's the image and the reliability in the game as well. In a sense, once your applications or service as a company is not available for a couple of hours, there is a scratch in your past, which is very hard to, as you can imagine, very hard to ignore, and then
like your future customers will see it, and
Yes,
they will
yeah.
then twink. They will think twice before.
I mean,
actually,
as a great example, when it comes to Akamai and other companies, I can bet you heard about the Cloudflare down. It went down for a couple of hours, right? Not for every customers around the world, but there was e-commerce shops around the world which were relying on the traffic to check firstly by Cloudflare and then go to the original server, right? With the Akamai, there is more certainty because the Akamai is more enterprise focused. I then don't have such an issue in the past or in a more than recent years, right?
Yeah.
With such a outage.
Yeah, but as you said, they are more enterprise focused, so
Yes.
that's why they can't allow themselves for that.
Yeah, it's one of those reasons the Akamai is chosen as a as a partner for enterprise customers rather than, for example, the Cloudflare, right? Because the reliability is way more important for them than just the price itself, right? I don't say price is not important, but the reliability is definitely the point for to consider.
Yeah,
right?
everything depends on your business. Like if you rely on being available to customers 24/7, 365, then you have to have a partner who can actually
Deliver this.
Yeah. So Denis, one last question for today.
Yeah.
So let's say you've speed up the process of the migration, you leverage the tools that we have, but how else can you help clients once they are already in Akamai Cloud or they made the move to something else?
We spotted a pattern a bit in a sense that many of those customers using several pieces of infrastructure, right? For queuing, for storing, like a Cassandra for database, Kafka for messaging services. So what we actually brought to the market a couple of years ago, and we are still developing this tool, is called a Cloud Orbit. We have a background of a couple of dozens of prepared, ready-to-go images, right? This is not just about the images, about the CI/CD pipeline, monitoring tools. It's an all-in-one package as a solution for speed up the process and day two operations, right? So Cloud Orbit, we have a team. We can spin up the containers with that specific services, right? There is, as mentioned, CI/CD pipeline ready to be used from day one, right? And in addition, once the migration and deployment is done, there is a possibility to offer as well the SRE services, right? Because yes, you can actually overlook your application throughout the business hours, but what if something happens at middle of the night of your time, right? This is the service we definitely provide for customers, and not for just one, for almost every customer which reach out to us. And the 24/7 service for overlooking the infrastructure is very important, and this is the option to give them a better sleep, let's say, sleeping time, because they know someone is looking on the latencies of the applications, of the overload of virtual machines, and many others, right? If they want to have the deeper know what is happening throughout the month, we have such sessions. We share reports of the infrastructure, what was happening throughout that month, if there was any peaks, if there was any problems. If they want to have a deeper information, there is a possible to go over the logs to tell them how it was mitigated, how we can avoid such a situation in the future. So from our perspective, it doesn't stop at the migration phase. There is SRE part or day two operations in a package as well, if they want to use it.
Yeah,
right?
so when you engage with us, we kind of come to you with both day 0, day 1, and day 2.
Yeah.
To actually provide the full support, so you can get the best of the solution that you're trying to buy or trying to move to.
Yeah, it's exactly, and not every client can afford to have their own SRE team, right? Because at the end of the day, it's many times around the cost of such a service, right? Because once you have a team of your own, as you can imagine, it's not just about the one person. It's couple of person because they work in shifts, right?
Yeah.
But once we have a SRE team for a couple of clients, we can spread the costs, and it's more optimal for clients to leverage and use our services, right? Because it's more cost optimized for them for the same result, right? The overlooking the result of the services is the same.
Yeah, and it's kind of also our job to augment the team with AI, to actually make the processes easier, to use automation within that, within the management.
We actually leverage the AI models, which is not in a sense that they're replacing the SRE engineers, right? It's a part of the process which helps us identify some logs or the warnings, which can be overlooked, but for some reason, right? But they are spotting the patterns if in the logs that it's happening at a specific time, at the specific days, this similar error pops up, and it's a helper for us definitely, but it's not at the moment that the AI agent is replacing our team. The human is always there for a customer. The AI is just a helper for us to identify something which can be overlooked.
So, Denis, thank you very much for today.
It was a pleasure to meet you and speak with you today.
As well. And till next time. Next time we'll talk more about AI and the edge.
Okay, got you.
Awesome.